What's going on, everybody? My name is Ben and welcome back to the bench for another episode here on our J7W-1 Shinden. Today we are jumping into the model kit and I want to go ahead and start working on the engine, see what we can do with that. And I've been doing a little bit of research, found some references, found some pictures I can use, and we're going to jump into the engine and really try to get this thing all put together. I also want to try to add maybe some wires, maybe some different piping and whatnot. The coloring seems to be mostly just a gloss black and a silver color, which we have plenty of. So that should be fine. I might change it up a little bit, try some different silvers along with just basic silver, but we'll see how that goes. And everything else looks to be pretty standard, so not too worried about it. Now, of course, these parts are super nice, very well detailed, and they have very fine connections to the sprue. So what I want to go ahead and do is be very careful when I cut these off. So that means this is a perfect time to use my new sprue cutters. Now, my girlfriend picked these up for me over Christmas and I have yet to use them. So we're going to pull these out for this build and we're going to go ahead and try them out. It's by a company I've never heard of, but check this out. This is a really cool little carrying case. The nippers are right there along with a protective covering, which is pretty cool. So we'll pull this off and there we go. Very fine bladed snippers, which I think will be wonderful for this particular project. So let's go ahead and jump into our first time lapse. We're going to use our new sprue cutters. We're going to get in there. We're going to cut out all of our parts. We're going to begin to assemble the basic engine. And then of course, like I mentioned, add a few wires and whatnot based on some references. And we'll just see if we can't spice it up just a little bit. So let's get into it, guys. Let's start having some fun. Let's get this party rolling. All right, everybody, we are back. And as you can see, so far so good. We have two parts of the engine already ready to go. We've added in wiring for the front and also for the rear section right here. And these will go ahead and mount together. And I'm going to go ahead and glue them in now because I think, yeah, they're all about the same color. Now, painting this is going to be a little bit of some trouble, but I thought I'd approach this a little bit differently than I would normally. We're going to go ahead and assemble the entire engine, come back in, do a little bit of painting on that, paint it all as a whole, instead of coming in and painting each individual part and then gluing them together. This is kind of how I would approach like a figure or something, and I'm kind of getting into figure painting these days, so I think this is going to be a good chance to try out my brushes, try out some different paint, so I'm having a blast. So what we're going to go ahead and do now is fit those together, glue them in place, let those dry, and then we're going to come back and start doing a little bit of the wiring. Now, as I mentioned, there are several sub-assemblies that go along with this entire engine. We're going to build up the rear portion, which is the drive shaft, along with this cylinder that kind of goes around it. Maybe it's some sort of a gearing box or something, I don't really know. But we're going to build that up now, and then we're going to attach it to the back of the engine. And then we're going to go ahead and move on to our final wiring. We've got a lot of these little wires in the back portion here we need to put into the rear of the engine. So we're going to go ahead and do that next. And then we have to clean up everything and start priming. So that's going to be interesting, guys. I also want to do a little bit of work on the cockpit as well, because I might as well. I'm already in the mood. Let's just get it done with. So onwards, guys, let's go ahead and jump into our second time lapse. Let's finish off the assembly and let's go ahead and work a little bit more on the wiring, get those put where we need them to go, clean up everything and get some Mr. Surfacer out there and prime up all the parts. All right, everybody, we are back, and so far so good. We've got the engine more or less ready to go into detail painting. We've got everything primed. All the wires are basically where I want them. It's not exactly 100% accurate, but I mean, it's not going to be. There's just so many wires and so many different parts and pieces on the real engine. I can't reproduce all of them here in 1/48 scale. So we're going to do our best, and I think we've done a decent job at just kind of getting some busyness there in the engine with our wires and all of that stuff. So when we come back in, we do some detail painting on that. It's going to be, I think, a decent looking representation of this particular engine. So let's jump back into our time lapse. Let's go ahead and detail paint the entire engine. Let's see how that goes. I'm not really sure yet, but we're going to give it a shot. We're going to try to go ahead and paint everything. Honestly, it's just two major colors, black and silver, but we're going to add in a couple of other paints here and there just to differentiate between the silvers and the different parts of the engine. So I don't know how this is going to turn out, but let's get in there, guys. Let's see what we can do. Let's wrap it up for today and let's paint this engine. Well, everybody, we are back, and after quite some time here on the bench, we have finished off our engine. And yeah, I gotta say, it's not the best thing I've ever built, but it's actually pretty cool. I had a lot of fun with this one, adding in wires, adding in different details, and then of course painting it. Use a couple different colors as well to differentiate between silvers and black and the different parts and the hoses and tubes and wires. I think it looks pretty cool. So let's zoom in here and I'll show you some of the details. So as you can see, we did add plug wires in there into the engine. I didn't have an exact diagram, so I just kind of winged it. They might need a little bit more black on there, but they look okay for right now. We've got the rear wires as well coming out of that section right behind the engine, and we kind of fed those through and glued them in where we thought they might go. The paints we used, actually we tried something new. We tried a speed paint. This is broadsword silver. I actually used that on the rear engine casing right back here, and it gave it a little different silver. The other brighter silver is a Tamiya silver, like this one right here, which is just flat aluminum, XF16, not too shabby. And then accented with some panel liner by Tamiya as well. And of course, the wires themselves are made from 0.3mm solder. Right here is what I use for most of my wiring. We also did some work here on other sections like this area right here. We did a little bit of painting there for where the guns are going to go. We also cleaned up the main frame, so that's good. Did a little bit of painting on the instrument panel and the rear bulkhead, but we did not touch the cockpit itself because I don't have the paint. I went ahead and ordered some paint from Burbank House of Hobbies, so that's going to come in a couple of days and I can finally get into the cockpit and get that all assembled and get everything into the main subframe there on the fuselage. So yeah, we're moving right along. I think the engine is really a cool looking design. I don't know exactly how this is going to fit. It's supposed to drop somewhere in the rear of the aircraft, kind of like this. I don't know what to do with it though. Maybe I'll keep it out. Maybe I'll put it in. Who knows? It may not be perfect, but I had fun with it, and that's all that really matters. Plus, I did the best representation I could find in my references, which is difficult on this particular aircraft. So until our next episode, guys, thank you so much for watching. You guys know the drill. Go out there, get yourself some bench time, have some fun, build something cool, and we'll see you back here on episode 3 for our 1/48 scale J7W-1. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you soon.